iHeart Podcasts. Hear more Gold 101.7 podcasts,
playlists, and listen live on the free iHeart app.
Jonesy and Amanda.
Jam Nation. Well, owning a home has long been tipped to be the Australian dream. Is it the Australian dream, and is it unrealistic to still have this as the Australian dream? This is all being explored in a new docu-series called Sold, Who Broke the Australian Dream, hosted by our mate Mark Humphries. Mark, hi.
Oh, hello, Amanda and Jonesy.
Hello. So I remember, was it a couple of years ago, where you, in passing, mentioned publicly that you were renting, and people were shocked and almost outraged that you hadn't entered the housing market.
They were annoyed at me. Just like it was some sort of failing on my part. And I just think that, there's a third of us are renters. And for many people, it is just becoming, beyond a dream. It's a fantasy. It's just not, it used to feel like, it's going to be really hard to get there. But now it feels like, I should just give up. So, and there's no amount of coffees or avocado toasts that I can stop eating that is going to get me across the line. And so, it really is bleak out there. Now, if you own a home, you kind of, once you've crossed that threshold, you sort of got that relief. But there's still this sizable chunk of Australians for whom it's really, really bleak.
Psychologically, though, it's getting over that hurdle. I remember when I was young, I didn't think I would ever buy a house. And that was back in the 90s, and I always thought that, I'm not going to be able to afford a house. It's not going to happen for me. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I bought a house in Brisbane, which was cheap. And then when we came to Sydney back home, I remember buying this house, and it was like $387,000. I said, that's the most money that you could. And I remember thinking, we're going to be eating 2-minute noodles for the rest of our lives. But it's that psychological step. And then someone said to me, they said, the bank doesn't want to repossess your home. The bank is using you to increase their wealth because you're buying the house. Is that true?
Well, I mean, as a renter, you go from paying off someone else's mortgage to then a homeowner, and you're now paying the bank. You're helping them out. So no one's winning. That's the thing. Like it's just rough across the board.
My husband used to work for the Money Show years ago as a producer. And one of the things that Paul Clitheroe, the host, used to say that, yes, if you're not going to buy a house, that's fine. That's absolutely, but put some money aside, because what your house is supposedly a nest egg when you're no longer earning a living. Mm-hmm. Is that still how that is seen?
Well, I think people, the attitude that I've seen in terms of people that have been looking to buy or people who have bought is that they expect that this is something that will increase in value. And I think this is what we sort of talk about in the documentary, that this is something, this idea of that housing must go up is almost really a sickness that has taken hold in the last 25 years or so, since some changes were made to some tax incentives. And it's become so ingrained now that we just think that's a standard thing, that you buy a house and the value goes up. But obviously that is not a sustainable system for people who are trying to enter the housing market.
There was a guy that said his name was Harvey Dent. No, hang on, that's a bad guy from Batman, isn't it? Anyway, there was a dude that was been saying the Australian pricing or house bubble is going to burst. So he was saying that.
But people have been saying that for years.
In 2015. Exactly. I'm still waiting for that, yeah.
But so what will happen? Will they get to a point where all of a sudden houses won't be worth anything?
No, I mean, ideally, we would slowly, because you don't want to, crash the housing market. I mean, that doesn't benefit us. But the idea of slowly just paring it back so that houses ideally would just remain static, or not, certainly not be advancing at the, astonishing rate that we've seen in recent years. So, it's not about suddenly wanting all housing to suddenly go down 20%, but realistically, we need to just make changes that can bring it down.
Foreign ownership, though, wouldn't you think? Like if old mate from China comes over here and buys up 16 houses,
I mean,
he can afford it.
If you in this documentary, that issue is so all these sort of hot button issues, foreign investment, immigration, they're all covered in the documentary. I can answer those questions now, or I can provide a little bit of sizzle.
I like the sizzle
and tell people to get to binge on Voxtel.
But is that true? I mean, what can you do to stop the constant increase in prices? When you said if we can manage that, but what are those things?
Well, so the thing that one of the things that we're looking at with this is in terms of, yes, there were these changes that were introduced regarding negative gearing and capital gains tax about 25 years ago, and that really supercharged the market. So every so often you do see politicians like Bill Shorten, who's in this documentary, who try to make changes to that, but it is politically unpopular because the majority of people are homeowners. So it's about two homeowners to every one renter. And so it's not really in the majority of people's best interests to have any changes. And so that's the difficult thing that we're trying to do with this documentary, is kind of get everyone to understand that as a society, we all suffer if we've got a sort of underclass of people, especially our essential workers. You know, if nurses, if teachers, firefighters, police, if they can't afford to live in the city that they are servicing, then we all suffer. So what is the value in having a nurse doing a 12-hour shift and then have to travel 1.5 hours on public transport to get home?
You gave a nurse, a firefighter, or a police officer, you just say, here's a house. You got a house.
Oh, I mean...
Can you do that? Is that... Because remember when Russell Crowe said years ago, he said, why don't we just give everyone $1 million? And I remember at the time thinking, oh, that sounds like a reasonable idea.
But then you'd get somebody saying, well, my job isn't a nurse, isn't a whatever, but I need a house.
Sure, exactly, yes.
I don't have the answers, I'm sorry.
No, it was a very Oprah Winfrey kind of, you get a house kind of thing.
And because when she did that car thing, everyone had to pay tax on the cars.
Oh, did they? Oh, right. Oh.
So she was doing old mate a favour, but all of a sudden the government, IRS said, you owe us $7,000 for the car that you got from Oprah.
I remember the guy who won the first season of Survivor, I think, got unstuck. He won $1 million, but then there was a huge tax bill.
That's terrible. You've recently bought property, so how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, there's immense relief on one level, but then also that feeling of like, okay, so I'm 39 now, so I'll technically properly own this house when I'm 70. And that's such a bizarre concept. And so, yes, it's a huge relief to not be, like I said, paying off someone else's mortgage. But now, of course, you know, every homeowner knows how much you're agonizing over interest rates. You saw how when the Reserve Bank kept them on hold that there was all this agony. Oh, we were expecting a rate cut. And so you're suddenly, you know, that you're now at the mercy of that process as well. So it's just not working for anyone. We're also, and I should stress, this is a funny documentary. I'm getting quite worked up, but it is. There are jokes. It's sort of, it helps the medicine go down.
Well, welcome to the party, pal. It's a great show. Sold. Who Broke the Australian Dream is out now on Binge and Foxtel. Mark Humphries, thank you for joining us.
Oh, Jonesy and Amanda, what a thrill. Thank you.